Oh dear, I didn't know there would be quite this many. Okay. It didn't look like quite as many when it was just chairs. Anyway, good afternoon. Lila's right. You are a beautiful group of ladies. The fact that you're here means that you're in some kind of ministry. And I'll just be right out with it. I am fighting feelings of intimidation right now because I've only been a pastor's wife for 7 years, and a lot of you have been for longer. So I feel kind of like a baby compared to a lot of you veterans. I know I have a lot more to learn and a lot more growing to do, and so many good and bad experiences in my future yet. But here's the thing, 7-year me does have enough subject matter to fill up this time, and so maybe it's good I'm not a veteran, or we might be here all evening. I want to show you a picture of my family because I'm going to be talking about them. So here's my girls. Lexi is in the middle. She's 19, and she's very organized and disciplined. She's actually kind of a dream to live with, honestly. She is going to EBI in about a week for 3 months, and I'm not sure what we're going to do without her. One of the things I like about her is she has the ability to neutralize tense situations. Tiffany on the left is 15, and she has her learner's permit, so that's fun. She goes about life and projects by winging it, and it usually works out for her. She also likes to ask questions for deep discussions, and that can get pretty interesting. Megan over here on the right, her main question in life is where's the party? She embraces life 100%. She's 97% sunshine. And sometimes I just look at her, and as the words are flying past my ears, I am just wondering how in the world I produce something that can think of so many words to say. Very talkative. This is my husband and I. I was just going to tell you, you can see us here. I don't have an updated family picture. He is supporting me from 3.5 hours away. His name is Shannon. Okay, supporting in vulnerability and transparency. So what does supporting mean? I looked up some words just to give us a more rounded view. Encouraging, reassuring, caring, understanding, and don't you just love the last one, commiserating with? Sometimes that is exactly what's needed when you're supporting somebody. Vulnerability and transparency can be very terrifying words, but they can also be very freeing words. So vulnerability has the idea of exposure, and it's when we're out of our protective comfort zone or loosen our control. Transparency has the idea of openness and honesty and inviting communication. So before we go on, I'm going to tell you where I'm at and how I feel about being a pastor's wife, just so you kind of know me a little better for a, well, I guess you'd probably figure it out anyway, but, okay, so first, I love being married, and I'm so thankful that God gifted me with the gift of marriage. Also, I feel honored to be the wife of a man who has been chosen and called by God to shepherd his people. My husband is employed by the God of the universe. So I put this into an equation. So if 2 + 2 = 4, see the plus in there. So that is my math equation. And this is a sum I come up with. You may want to put your seatbelts on. I love being a pastor's wife. I do. Mostly I hold that in my heart because it doesn't seem like the common vibe that I hear. I don't think I've ever said it out loud, and I don't know what you guys are thinking right now, and so my heart is kind of racing because I don't know, are some of you like turned off by that, repulsed by that. Maybe some of you are saying, yeah, she's a baby, all right, just wait. And some of you might be saying, me too. If you are one of the me too's, say it. I never hear it. All I hear is oh, it's a sacrifice. So it is. But I don't know. All in all, when I think of the whole picture, I love it. If you felt resistance or repulsiveness when I said I love being a pastor's wife, my wish for you is that by the end of this talk, you'll at least have softened to the idea. When I say I love being a pastor's wife, it doesn't mean that I love the full schedule, or that I love watching my husband take bullets, or that I love holding vacations loosely. Just like when I say I love being a mom, which I do, and I freely vocalize that, it doesn't mean that I love cleaning up the mustard-colored blowouts, missing things because of sick kids, or making decisions on how much screen time to allow. It doesn't mean I love all that stuff, but I still overall love it. Have you ever seen those memes that say me and then also me? Well, this is me. I love being a pastor's wife, also me. Who said being a pastor's wife was stressful? I'm 43, I'm feeling great. Being a pastor's wife is hard. It is. But being a mom is hard too. And you know what? Hard is below the surface. You know what else is below the surface? Below the surface is also stuff like richness, learning, growth, fulfillment, purpose. You don't get that stuff skimming above the surface with easy. So I'll take the package. I want to give you an example of richness. So last week we had a funeral. Someone in our church died. And the day after the viewing, one of my friends, we were texting about something else, and in her text then she said, when I saw you sitting there at church last night, we were sitting in the back of the room at the viewing, I was thinking, oh my, your life really isn't your own when you spend hours just sitting supporting the family. Bless you for that. How do you tell someone that that's what makes life rich? Yes, we share our lives, but other people share their lives with us too. It's not just my own life that I get to be part of other people's lives too. And it was way more dimensional for me than just sitting there supporting the family. We had gotten there before to the viewing, before the family actually got there. The last time they had seen their husband and father who had passed away was when he was taken out of the house a few days before. They had not seen him in the casket yet. The family came in, we were back in the foyer. We wrapped the wife in our arms. She was about to do the hardest thing, that has got to be the hardest thing in this world, is walking up the aisle and looking in the casket of your husband. And she was just crying and saying, it's so hard, and then the family walked up the aisle, and I just pressed into my own husband, who was alive and well, and I just said, I can't imagine. And those are some rich moments that we get to be part of. If I just had only my own life, and if it was just my own, my life wouldn't be as rich. Those moments made me reflect on my own life, my own dad. There were some people who had lost their dads. My husband, and being thankful for him, being thankful my kids still have their grandpa. I would have never gone there with those consciously grateful thoughts if I would have just been at home getting ready or making lunch or whatever. Also, knowing when they were doing the hard things is special. I was there when they wheeled their husband and father out of the home for his last time that he would ever be in his own house. Like I said, I knew when they were walking up the aisle. I felt the pain to a much lesser degree, of course, right along with them. And I wouldn't have missed sitting at that viewing supporting. It didn't feel like just sitting there supporting. And I actually felt sorry for my friend who texted me this. I wished that because she was so loving and caring to me, to think of sending this bless you for that text. I wished I could have brought her along on my day so she could have seen the full dimension of what it truly was. It's such an honor to share parts of their story. Like, it creates automatic opportunities for below the surface conversations. I like to know about the elderly lady who feels scared because she's starting with dementia. I like to be in an emergency room and know when the family is feeling fear and the unknown. Probably the most intimate one was when there was a little girl on life support. She had fallen and had a brain bleed and a surgery, and it was late at night, and they were going to do some tests in the morning to see if there was any brain activity. In that dim hospital room with this little girl's parents and grandparents, where they were verbally, okay, we didn't know if she was going to make it or not, but they were verbally releasing her to God, into his hands, and believing he was a good God no matter the outcome. And that type of thing is just such a deep honor to be able to share in. I feel like this is a good picture to describe how I feel about ministry. So you got rainbows, you got, I think that's a tornado coming down, we'll say it is. There's green grass, there's ripped up grass, there's blue sky, there's clouds, there's thunder clouds. But overall, it's a beautiful picture with a lot going on. And that is how I feel about it. So now to get us back to the topic, let's go back to my friend's text for a phrase. Your life really isn't your own. Is that not a great description of all vulnerability and transparency? First, I want to talk about what being vulnerable and transparent is, because you can't support in something you don't have yourself. So, and then I want to talk about supporting your children, and then not a mistake that I saved the husbands for last, because I saved my favorite for last. I love that part the best. So, vulnerability and transparency. Okay, so I've never done a talk with a PowerPoint before, and I have done a couple other talks, and I know that when I say something, I think of something that's down further in my notes, and I just say that too. Well, you can kind of make that flow verbally, but if I get these things mixed up and I'm clicking back and forth, I do not know what's going to happen. So I'll try to stay organized, which I'm not really organized. In fact, you know how I said Tiffany likes to ask questions for discussion? She asked me one time, if you were to write a book about yourself, what would the name of it be? So my name is Kay, and I said, the book would be called Chaos, K-A-Y-O-S. So anyway, that was a bunny trail. Vulnerability and transparency, exposure, openness, honesty. The verse is given with this topic, which we'll read. I don't know if you guys can read this, probably not way in the back, but I'll read them. Now this I say and testify in the Lord, that you must no longer walk as the Gentiles do in the futility of their minds. For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true, and try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord. Can you hear me in the back? Okay. I'm about to say something very cliche and annoying, but it's true. Do you know what the secret is to not minding the glass house fishbowl thing? Live in a way that you have nothing to hide. So my vehicle has glass in it, you know, the windows. In the front, in the back, on the sides, there's a sunroof on top. And I drive my kids to school, and usually, you know, I'm dressed and combed and smiling and friendly. There's other moms, you know, we wave and sometimes we talk. But some mornings, you know where this is going, the morning just does not go right. And it's time to leave, and we've been focusing on getting them out the door. I am still not combed, PJs on, and braless and barefoot, but we gotta go. So I throw a sweatshirt on, stuff my hair down the back of it, pull a stocking cap on, and run out barefoot. Yeah. Have you ever driven school kids barefoot? No, just me. Okay. And those mornings on the way to school, I'm shutting the sunroof. We have a visor that splits, so I put one down here and one in the front. And I am making no eye contact. I am not smiling. I am not waving. We are just looking down, we're just getting them to school and then getting them back home. Now, why is that picture different than smiling and friendly? It's because I was living in a way that I had something to hide. Like, I was also thinking, no, moms better come to my window to talk to me because they'll see my PJ pants. Or I'm also barking at my girls, okay, get your water bottle, lunchbox, everything, because I am not running it into you. It is just, when you live in a way that you have something to hide, you're just always, I don't know, it just takes up so much concentration to, you can't live free and clear, and it affects people around you in a bad way. So some things we might feel bad about. So do you feel bad about not keeping a clean house? This is a me thing. So you feel bad about not keeping, or like me, feel bad about not keeping a clean house. Also me, what's even the point of cleaning if my family is going to keep living here? Do you feel bad about how you treat your husband and kids? Do you feel bad about how you gossip? How you spend your time, about the health or lack thereof of your devotional and prayer life? Or about how you don't sign up on food lists as much as you should, or how you slide into Sunday morning and you haven't even looked at the lesson, much less studied it. So just ask you, instead of just living life feeling guilty or trying to hide, ask yourself, who do I want to be? And be reasonable, like building in downtime. Don't go all Proverbs 31 on yourself. Pray about it. List the things that are a priority to you. And then work to be that. And then let the rest go. Just let it go. Own your decision and give yourself grace while you're getting there. Otherwise, you'll have shame, and that takes up a lot of emotional energy. Micah 6:8 always just kind of grounds me again, brings me back to what really matters. Because sometimes I can get caught up in comparison to people who seem like Wonder Women around me and to-do lists and everything. Micah 6:8, he has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. The times when I've been the happiest and the most free and open were times that my devotional and prayer life were alive and well. It's easy to depend on the spiritual conversations, the cocoon of ministry life. Discussing sermons, stuff like that is spiritual food for your soul, but there is no substitute for time with God. Walk as children of light, free and pure, so that you don't have to be worried about what's going to come out when somebody squeezes you, because you will get squeezed. People don't cause me to be the way I am. They reveal the way I am. When somebody does something to me, that's a squeeze, and what comes out is whatever was inside. Real love is not giving people what they deserve. It is giving people what they need, and people need grace. You risk the loss of privacy when you're a leader, because whether you want it or not, being a leader automatically makes you a model for others. People are watching. I didn't know this till just a few years ago. 2 of my peers said something around the same time, and one of them said, I was wondering if my daughter could wear that, and then I saw Lexi wearing it, so I knew it was okay. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't even know what I'm doing, much less what you should be doing. And she was like, and then she just smiled and said, "Oh, I'm watching you, Kay." And it wasn't a threatening way or anything. It was, we were laughing, and, it was fine. But that was just like, oh. And I still forget that people are, so I don't know, I guess, until I get reminded now and then. But if a leader resents the loss of privacy and the fact that someone's always watching, pastoral life is going to be so miserable. But what if? What if we take this glass house effect and use it as an opportunity to show Jesus to others? God has a purpose for me, yes, but here's the kicker. His purpose for me isn't even about me. It's all about him and how he can be glorified. Okay, so now we're going to move on to children. Supporting your children in transparency and vulnerability. I've always loved to pick my kids' brains. 3-year-olds are my favorite. Just from a little age, it's so fun. You just go, what does wind mean? And they'll say something like, when the trees wiggle. What does window mean? To look outside. And you can just name, if you have a 2 or 3-year-old do it, it is so fun. Anyway, I think one of the ways to support them in transparency and vulnerability is to pick their brains. Keep communication open. Ask how they feel about being a PK. By PK, I mean pastor's kid. I think you guys know that. But I think with communication, there's less chance of resentment happening. If I wouldn't ask now and then, I wouldn't have heard about the awkwardness that my 11-year-old had when an adult at church asked her how the couple is doing that her mom and dad are premarital counseling. Yeah, I have so many questions. She said, other people ask me stuff too, and I feel bad saying I don't know. This is the wordy one. She would love to just answer all their questions, plus. But she said, I wonder if people think we just sit at home as a family and discuss church stuff or what? When Lexi was 15, it was actually right after Shannon became lead pastor. She went through a phase of a couple of her peers giving her a hard time, like for stuff she did or didn't do. Like, I'll give you examples. Wearing modest swimwear, which was a sleeveless tank top and longish shorts for mixed swimming, and putting her veil on in the morning at camping, and giving her a hard time for using the word crap, which was commonly used among her peers, but because she was a PK, they made a big deal about it. Them saying that in a group bothered her the most. So I'm going to leave that. I'll come back to it in just a second, but I'm going to leave it for a moment. And I want to tell you something else. So when Lexi was almost 12, Shannon got ordained, and Lonnie and Lila's Megan, they have a Megan too, we both have Megans. She was an adult, but she came up to Lexi and she said, you get to be a pastor's kid now, it's pretty cool. And I was just blown away by that, because I was like, whoa, she has a really good view on pastor's kids. So back to my story about Lexi's peers giving her a hard time at 15. I thought of Megan, of Lila's, here, Lila up in the corner here, it's her daughter Megan. So I messaged her and told her this, and I said, how do you handle it? And I just got to tell you what she said, even though it was a joke. She said, well, I probably would have done a smart aleck comment like, oh yeah, if you think that word's bad, I could unleash a lot more worse words. But then she said, no, just have her keep telling him, I'm no different than you, just, we're the same. And then just ignore them if they keep doing it. But then I asked her how she has such a healthy view of being a pastor's kid. And she replied, and I copied this down so I'll get it word for word. I credit a lot of my view of the ministry to my mom. She never, that I remember, complained about Dad being gone again, and she has again in all caps, for a meeting, or that Dad had to study again is in all caps. I don't ever remember her complaining about serving people, whether it was through visiting or taking a meal. I don't ever remember her complaining. She never, that I remember, complained. So there you have it, moms. Not complaining is a way to support our children in keeping a healthy view of ministry life, which I missed the complaining one. Okay, so yeah, it's nice that I actually forgot to move it forward. Okay, so the next point is be creative when compromising. So you can get creative. So, okay, now we're off of Lila's Megan and we're back to my Megan now. Her 10th birthday was on a Monday, and over that time, Shannon was, for a few months, he was doing counseling sessions every Monday night. And to kids, it's kind of important to celebrate on their birthday. So we were like, okay, what do we do? We were going to go to this pet store and get her a hamster. She was going to pick it out. You know, this was going to be a family event. So what we did, we were thinking, if we say we can't do it on your birthday because of church stuff, we were thinking that could cause a little resentment. So we bought her a cage and, you know, bedding and stuff to put in it, and we wrapped that and gave that to her with a little birthday party on her birthday. And then we said, okay, so this evening you can get this all set up, and then tomorrow evening when it's all ready, we'll all go pick out a hamster. She had no clue we compromised. It never crossed her mind that hamster picking and the getting the cage ready could have all been in the same evening. She still doesn't know it. Also, involve the kids where you can. You'll have your own opportunities, but here's just a few examples. So we got a bunch of Easter lilies for the church people in 2020 when things were shut down. And they needed pot covers on them and little notes in them. And so we took our girls and the lilies all over to the church, and we got these already. And it was fun. There were lilies everywhere. It was so pretty. And we just had a lot of fun. They had fun, and it was a ministry thing. So we involved them in that. Also, we do the communion prep as a family, like filling all those little cups. That's also fun too. Another way to involve them is to show them the generosity of the church, pastor appreciation and Christmas especially. They see all the cookies and gifts and goodies coming in, but also when we're out to eat, you know, we'll be like, this meal is thank you to Myron and Linda or whoever. They gave us a gift card for here, and they wouldn't have had to. They just did it out of their generosity because as a thank you for Dad's work as a pastor. So involve them where you can. And then I have one last thing in the children section, a never do thing. Never say they have to wear, not wear, do not do because it wouldn't look good because Dad's a pastor, or even because the church says so. Even if it is because of the church, don't say that. It will just make them resent the ministry and the church. Instead, own it. Give them guidelines and personally stand behind those guidelines, or don't give them guidelines at all. The or don't give them guidelines at all was on purpose as a shocker, so that you know the only good option is to give them guidelines and personally stand behind them. Okay, husbands. Supporting your husband in transparency and vulnerability. Strong women support. Most of what we see in women, you know, it's kind of a thing, I'm strong. But what they mean is, I'm not going to let anybody get in my way. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be my own self. But that's not strength. That's default. Default doesn't take strength. Default is what comes natural. I mean, 2-year-olds do that. Our fleshly nature is default, and it comes natural, and it doesn't take strength and effort. Living out of our fleshly nature does not take strength and effort. What takes strength and effort is supporting. Supportive women are the strong ones. The pastoral fitness theme, regularly supporting is strength training. So there's your workout. Holding your tongue, for example, takes so much strength. Or is that just me? Fighting the urge to control your husband also takes strength. And here's the thing. I have found that trying to control my husband does not make me happy. It makes me exhausted. And I've never been able to control my way into his heart. Quite the opposite, actually. When I am controlling, we actually move farther apart. I have a question for you. Are you a Proverbs 21 woman? Did I say Proverbs 21? I meant Proverbs 21. Let's read all the verses. Oh, do character strength training. Forget I have a PowerPoint. Okay. Let's read all the verses in Proverbs 21. There are two, verse 9 and verse 19. It's better to live alone in the corner of an attic than with a quarrelsome wife in a lovely home. It's better to live alone in the desert than with a quarrelsome, complaining wife. So if you look at these, can you get farther away than alone? And not only that, in the corner. If I would say go as far away from me as possible, you'd probably be in a corner somewhere of an attic. So let's use our imaginations a little bit here. What's in an attic? Mice? Cobwebs? Spiders? He might be thinking, surely she won't come here. Or a desert. The second verse says a desert. No motels, no toilets. Surely she won't come here. Your husband's pastoral job is stressful enough. Don't add to his stress. He will be disrespected by many people. Don't be one of them. Instead, be beautiful. Beauty attracts masculinity, and I'm not talking about physical beauty here, although that is a plus, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Ask yourself, are my words beautiful? Is my attitude beautiful? Are my actions beautiful? Beauty offers grace, it inspires, it invites, it draws those around us towards God. And here's a big thing that is so fitting for our talk today. Beauty in the form of actions, words, and attitudes offers courage. Do you know what the literal definition of encourage is? It is pour courage into. We have a superpower as wives for our husbands, and that is encouragement. Don't miss those opportunities to call out his greatness. It means more coming from you than it does from anybody else. And here's why. Because he knows, you know him. He knows you know him. He knows you know his strengths and his weaknesses. And if you're saying, you've got this, he knows it's coming from somebody who knows him, and it has more depth and power. Like if you sit together in church, just before he gets up to preach, reach over and just squeeze his leg. Or sometime when you get in the car after church and he's just preached, say, how's my favorite pastor doing? Actually, that can go in any area of life. Your husband was on a golf vacation. When he comes home, go to the door and say, how's my favorite golfer doing? He has a long day in the fields. Comes in the door, say, how's my favorite farmer doing? That little sentence is so compact. It's asking him how he's doing, calling out his area of effort, and telling him that he's still your one and only. Here's some more. You've got what it takes. You're a great leader. You're a great dad. You're such a man of God. You make wise decisions. You look good. You're so good at that. I'm so glad I'm yours. I love that line in your prayer. I'm proud of you. Now, a word of caution, never do or say any of those things out of flattery or manipulation, because flattery and manipulation are so selfish, and it's all about benefiting you. Encouragement is authentic. It's simply calling it like it is, and it's focused on the other person. It's as if they're shining their light out, And you, with your encouragement, is just shining their light back to them, reflecting it back to them. Say thank you for big things, for little things, for things that are actually his responsibility. You know that he does. Shanti Feldhahn says, saying thank you to your man is the equivalent of him saying, I love you to you. Your kids will also hear you saying thank you, and it could cultivate a attitude of gratitude in your home. I don't remember much from the receiving line at Shannon's ordination, but I vividly remember one person, Vernon Miller. Vernon and Alice from Plain City. Some of you might know them. Teresa, I don't see you, but you do. It's her dad. Yeah, there you are. One reason I noticed him is because he talked to me. I said that like it's a good thing. Like, I actually prefer to stay in the background. Most people, when they came through the line, they were focused on Shannon, and rightly so. But he stopped right in front of me and looked me right in the eye, and he said, you have no idea how important your job is of supporting your husband. He said, your support can, or lack thereof, can make or break his ministry. He said, your attitude is very important. Never complain, smile, and he said, even do little things like bring him a drink of water or ask if you can get him anything. And then he said he'll be more front and center than you, but never underestimate your very important role of supporting him. Especially that smile and not complain. And I mean, when I want an evening at home and he has to go out the door for something ministry-ish, Vernon Miller flashes through my brain, and I tell him, I smile and I tell him he's the best pastor ever, and I send him out the door with a smile. And honestly, that is thanks to Vernon Miller. I never told him that. So I saved my favorite support phrase for last. This support phrase says, I believe in you, and you got what it takes. Better than actually saying the words, I believe in you and you got what it takes. Here it is. In case I forget to tell you later, I was proud of you tonight. The dynamite there is tonight didn't happen yet. So tonight might be, okay, who has a talk tonight? Is it Steve Miller? Anyway, like his wife could tell him right after, like during supper, in case I forget to tell you later, I was proud of you tonight. That says, I believe in you, you got what it takes, you're going to make me proud. I just know this because I know you and who you are. I use that one when hard things are coming up. And it doesn't always have to be tonight. Change it to today or tomorrow or whatever. Okay, so here's one thing I love about being a pastor's wife. Picture we're going to do a little visual here, just in your own mind. Picture the front of your church, the stage, wherever the pulpit is, whatever. Now picture your husband up there. It's got to be your husband up there, actively preaching or leading in some way, whatever. So just picture that for a little bit, and then I have a question for you. Okay, here's my question. Is there anything more attractive than that? I mean, this guy is leading a group. He's handling the Word of God. He is drawing people's hearts towards God, and I get to sleep with him. Like, I just love the four-dimensional view that I get being married to a pastor. I get to see the behind-the-scenes parts and the front and center suit parts. I get to see the pacing back and forth at home with, man, how do I say that? And then the next day, watch him up front delivering perfectly worded paragraphs. I can't be the only one who feels this way. Some of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, if you're sitting there criticizing him while he's up front, you are missing out. Try it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, try it. Like, go home and the next time he's up front, think about it in that light and see if it doesn't strike you too. Some of you might think, I'm shallow and I shouldn't be thinking thoughts like that during church. If that's you, you may want to plug your ears because I'm going to go just a little further. I'm going to tell you, don't always close your eyes during prayer. Sometimes watch him when he's praying up front. Is there anything more attractive than watching your man connect with his creator? I didn't think so. Okay, I just told you one thing. Let's see, okay. Oh, I guess I'm not as behind as I thought. Okay. I just told you one thing I love about being a pastor's wife, being attracted to him up front. Now I'm going to tell you something I hate about being a pastor's wife. That is the bullets that get fired at him. He even takes bullets for other people. When someone attacks him about something, I say later, why didn't you tell him you did so-and-so planned that? You didn't even have anything to do with it. And he's like, well, I'm more used to handling bullets, and the person who planned it meant well, and the person attacking just needs to be heard, and it just works better if I just, validate their concerns and apologize and listen instead of turning them to the other guy, because, then it might, I don't know, there might be offense or defensiveness or whatever. So back to the ones fired at him that are meant for him. It just fires me up because I see the blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes. I see how busy he is. I see how he tries to juggle everything. I see how he tries to think through things. I see the emotional weight. I see how he loves people and wants the best for them. And one little thing doesn't sit right with him, or he makes a little mistake or something, and bam, they're on him. Sorry, I obviously have so much to learn in this area. Actually, I think I do. I think I have learned it. I just need to apply it. For example, I know that I know we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I know Satan is the enemy. I know the sinful nature is what puts criticism in people's hearts. It's just so hard to see the people criticizing the man you love. So here's another thing I've learned about this, taught to me by none other than my own husband. So one time someone was making him look bad in a group. And afterwards I went and told Shannon about it. Not only was I mad that someone was bashing my hardworking pastor husband, I was also afraid the people in the group would, I know this is fear of man, but I was afraid they would believe it all, and they would turn against him as well. So, okay, picture me just ranting about this whole thing to him, and I took a breath, as in it was quiet for a little bit, and he went, open hand. I totally ignored his open hand, and I kept ranting. And then after a few sentences, I felt kind of dumb because here he's still patiently holding out his open hand. So I stopped and I said, what do you mean by open hand? And he said, God placed the ministry here. God can take it whenever he chooses and in whatever way he chooses. And if he chooses to take it by early, as in we hope that age ends it. But if he chooses to take it early by what we look at as humiliating or painful circumstances, that's up to him. I'm here for it. And he said that it may mean he'll see us through. It may mean that he's done with us or that he has something else for us. And but if it's not, and he also said if it's not his will to take it early, the person firing bullets is powerless. And I can still see him. The whole time he was saying that, he just held his hand open like this. And he's not closing. I think what I was doing was closing it, saying, you are not going to take my husband's ministry, at least not in that way. And he just leaves it open if God takes, and only God put it there, so only God can take it. So that has helped me a lot. Here's another time I failed in the whole bullets area. Honestly, this is my weakness. My worst thing is somebody attacking the man I love. So I was on another rant saying, you should tell them this and you should tell them that. Basically, I was telling him he's not handling it well because he's not firing bullets back, is kind of where we were. To which he calmly replied, "It's almost like you're trying to discourage me even more than I already am." Ouch. Oh, that was so terrible. So I definitely don't want to do that. I need to grow in this. I need to just calm down in this bullet area. I want to be a haven for him. No man can fight on two fronts and be victorious. Proverbs 31:11-12 says, "Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of his life." I want to be that wife. So help me God. Now, let's look at be a haven for him is number 4. Let's look at a lighter way to support. Humor. I'm assuming you all do this, possibly even get a bit irreverent at times. But humor is a way of supporting because it has a way of lightening the mood and reminding us not to take ourselves too seriously. I'll give you a couple examples of what I mean. So the first one was actually like right after he became a pastor, at his ordination actually. So there was a message and then the ordination, like where the charge is, and then another message. And after the charge, there was like this meet and greet with the congregation while our families and the pastors had a little receiving line for us. And then there was about 30 seconds between when they were done and when the auditorium was called back to order. And Shannon and I were just looking at each other. So that everybody was still talking and, nobody was talking to us, but we were just looking at each other. And we were, okay, so he had just been ordained. So, we were kind of dazed, the stunned feeling you have when you've been ordained for 5 minutes. And so I said, "You ought to kiss me. I've never been kissed by a pastor before." And we just started laughing, and we were talking. We didn't do it, but we were talking about what if we actually would. And then we were like, "Do you think anybody is looking at us right now?" And it was just so fun, and we relaxed ourselves. A more recent one was less than 2 weeks ago. So we had come home from Florida on a Thursday. The man I was talking about earlier passed away on Friday, and then there were meetings and funeral planning, and Shannon preached Sunday, and then there were the viewings Monday, and it was just, then not to mention getting home from a trip and unpacking and catching up and all that. Also, this sounds like a minor detail, but it was cold. We were just in Florida and we were in Ohio now, and it was cold. So anyway, during, how there's usually a lull between the viewings. So we came home in the lull between the afternoon and evening viewings for a little bit. And I was doing the bulletins for the funeral, so I pressed print on the printer and I went to find Shannon again. And I walk into the room and he goes, "So here's the thing." And I'm thinking, okay, another planning detail, because that's kind of how we were, just plan. He said, "If we leave right now, we could be in Sarasota by noon tomorrow." And it totally caught me off guard because I was not in that mode at all. And it was so hilarious because we had bulletins to finish up. There was another viewing to go to. There was a sermon to prepare. There was a burial service in the morning, and about the time we'd be getting to Sarasota, he should be standing up and preaching the funeral message. So it was so fun and so hilarious. Another humorous thing you can do is sometime when things are really stressful with problems at church, tell him you'd like to read some scripture to him. and then go to Psalm 55. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be sacrilegious by using scripture as humor, but whatever. Don't take this wrong is what I'm saying. So Psalm 55, 6-8. Change the I to we. Oh, that we had wings like a dove, then we would fly away and rest. We would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. How quickly we would escape far from this wild storm of hatred. Doesn't that just sound wonderful sometimes? It's actually in the Bible. You should read Psalm 55 sometime. It's like the pastor's psalm. I'm serious. Psalm 55. You will get a lot of the stuff in there. Trying to see. Oh dear, I did not know it was this late. Okay, I'm just gonna switch to the end challenge. I want to end with this challenge here. Some verses to pray over your husband. I'm not going to read the verses as they are. I think it's so beneficial to pray verses over our husband because we know we're praying God's will, and yeah. So this is how I would pray these verses in 1 Peter 5, 2-4. Help him to care for the flock that God has entrusted to him. Help him to watch over it willingly and not grudgingly, not for what he can get out of it, but because he is eager to serve you. Help him to not lord it over the people assigned to his care, but to lead them by his own good example. And I pray that when you, the great shepherd, appears, he will receive a crown of never-ending glory and honor. In conclusion, I just want to leave you with inspiration from Vernon Miller, Teresa's dad. Never underestimate your very important role of supporting your husband. Thank you.